Powerful people impress and intimidate by saying less. The more you say, the more common you appear. Robert Greene, The 48 Laws of Power. Picture a battlefield just before dawn. Two armies stand across a valley. One is loud, shouting, banging shields, screaming war chants. The other, silent, still, focused. The first army thinks they're intimidating. The second doesn't need to, because the loud one needs reassurance. The silent one already knows what it's capable of. Now forget the battlefield. Picture a group chat. Someone throws shade at you, passive-aggressive comment. They want a response. They want you flustered, and you feel it. That itch, that electric jolt in your chest, the voice in your head whispering, say something, defend yourself, don't let them get away with it. But instead, you leave them on red. You go for a walk, maybe hit the gym, maybe journal it out, and you say nothing. They wait and wait. But your silence becomes heavier than any insult could ever be. Now they're not confident. Now they're confused. Did you not see it? Are you planning something? Are you above it? They start spiraling, trying to guess your next move because you never gave them one. This tactic isn't new. In fact, it's ancient. In the 16th century, Queen Elizabeth I would often sit in council meetings saying nothing for hours. Her advisors would argue and posture, desperate to influence her decision. She let them talk themselves into circles. Then, at the perfect moment, she'd say one sentence, maybe two, and the entire room would shift because she understood what most people don't. People fear what they can't read, and silence is unreadable. Used to be loud, defensive, always talking, always explaining myself to people who didn't deserve the explanation. But the moment I started practicing silence, not fake passive silence, but deliberate, intentional, weaponized stillness, everything changed. People started treating me differently. They listened more when I finally did speak. Some people feared me, others respected me, but no one underestimated me again. This is the story of how silence became my greatest form of power, and how you can use it too, in arguments, relationships, business, and life, by mastering the ancient strategy of saying nothing. The more you say, the more likely you are to say something foolish. Robert Greene, The 48 Laws of Power. I used to talk way too much. I don't mean funny friend who talks a lot. I mean, if someone challenged me, boom, I was in debate mode, defensive, heated, ready with evidence, screenshots, timestamps, paragraph-long replies online. I was a philosopher warrior in person. I was that guy who had to have the last word. One time in college, I got into a 2-hour argument with a friend over a stupid detail from a movie plot. And here's the worst part. I didn't even care about the movie. I just didn't want to feel wrong. Sound familiar? I thought I was being strong, intelligent, assertive, but really, I was reacting. I was insecure. I was afraid that silence would make me look weak. Turns out reacting isn't strength. It's fear wearing a loud costume. Every time I rushed to speak, I was trying to prove something, not just to others, but to myself. I was trying to say, I matter, I'm right, please don't ignore me. Which means I wasn't really powerful. I was just afraid of being invisible. Marcus Aurelius would have looked at me and smiled sadly. He'd probably say, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke. Translation: I wasn't upset by people. I was upset by my need to be seen a certain way. And the more I talked, the more I gave away the only thing I actually owned, my composure. Greene writes about this in Law 4, always say less than necessary. He says, the more words you use, the more common you appear. Why? Because powerful people don't explain everything. They let silence do the intimidating. They trust that their presence says enough. I didn't understand this until I experienced the opposite, until I talked too much and someone used it against me. There was this time I opened up in a group conversation, tried to explain my point of view. I was respectful, clear, calm. Then someone laughed, rolled their eyes, said, "Dude, you always have to over-explain." They didn't care about the point I was making. They just wanted to dismiss me, and they used my own words to do it. And in that moment, I realized you don't get more respect by explaining more. You get more respect by knowing when not to speak. Not because you're afraid to speak, but because you don't need to. Silence isn't passive, it's strategic. It's your way of saying, I know who I am. I don't owe you a performance. Say less than necessary. When you are trying to impress people with words, the more you say, the more common you appear. Robert Greene, Law 4, always say less than necessary. In the early 1800s, Napoleon Bonaparte was in a war council with his top generals. Now imagine this scene. These men are powerful, experienced, proud, all shouting strategies across a table. Everyone wanted to be the smartest voice in the room, except one person, Napoleon. He said nothing for most of the meeting, just stood at the edge of the room, hands behind his back, eyes focused, completely still. The generals eventually noticed. The talking slowed. They started looking at him, waiting. And then he finally spoke. A few words, one or two observations, a single adjustment to the plan. That was it. Everyone fell silent, because the moment he spoke, they realized they'd been reacting to the noise. He'd been watching the game. We've all been in that meeting, that classroom, that friend group, where someone is always talking, always proving, always performing. And we've also noticed the one person who sits back, watches, waits. When they do speak, it hits different. It's weighty, it's grounded, it's respected. Why? Because in a world full of noise, stillness signals certainty. Most people talk to fill the void, but when you don't talk, you become the void, and people lean into it. I used to be the try hard at work, always contributing, always emailing, always the first to answer in meetings. I thought I was being helpful. In reality, I was making myself too familiar, too available, too predictable. One day I decided to test something. At a team meeting, I said nothing unless asked. I didn't volunteer ideas, just listened, took notes, no facial reactions. By the end of the week, my manager asked if something was wrong. I smiled and said, nope. Just observing. And just like that, the power dynamic shifted because I wasn't performing anymore. I was positioning. Epictetus said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." It's not just a quote. It's a way of life. The Stoics believed that control of speech is control of the soul. They didn't avoid speaking, they just believed that every word was a transaction, and if you're not careful, you end up buying approval with too much of yourself. Here's what Greene teaches that Stoicism supports. Power isn't loud. Power is precise. Loud people spend energy trying to convince the room. Powerful people spend time understanding the room and wait until the exact moment to speak. If someone's always talking, you already know where they stand. They're predictable. But if someone's watching, calculating, you don't know what they're thinking, and that makes people nervous, in a good way. Next time you feel the urge to fill the silence, ask yourself, is this useful? Or am I just afraid of being misunderstood? Sometimes the strongest move you can make is to make no move at all. He who angers you conquers you. Robert Greene. Picture this. You're walking through a quiet forest and there's a trap in the middle of the path. Not a bear trap, not a hole, just a little box with a giant red button and a note that says, "Do not press." You already know it's a trap, but your fingers itch. Your mind starts running. What if it's nothing? What if it's important? What if pressing it gives me back control? So you press it, and just like that, the net drops. That's what reacting emotionally is. It's pressing that red button. It feels like you're taking control, but actually you've just given it away. And I remember this time in a group chat, someone made a slick comment, kind of funny, kind of disrespectful. Everyone saw it. Everyone was watching to see if I'd clap back. And I felt that old energy boiling up in my chest, that don't let this slide voice. I even typed a response. A long one, full of logic, sharp phrasing, and a mic drop ending. Then I deleted it, said nothing. You know what happened? They doubled down, tried harder to get a rise out of me. I still didn't reply. And eventually, they stopped. You could almost feel the tension flip. Now they looked insecure, like they were performing for someone who wasn't even watching. That's when I realized your silence makes them louder, and their loudness reveals everything. The Stoics had a brutal truth. You always have the option of having no opinion. Marcus Aurelius translation. You don't have to respond to everything. Just because someone invites you to a fight doesn't mean you have to show up. Reacting is a choice, and anger, that's the most expensive currency you can spend. Because once they get you to react, you're not leading the conversation anymore. You're dancing to their rhythm. Robert Greene puts this beautifully in Law 33. Discover each man's thumb screw. Everyone has a pressure point, an emotional hot button. If you're the type to get angry every time someone disrespects you, guess what? You've just handed people your control manual. Push here, he'll explode. Mention this, she'll lose it. Call him insecure, watch him fold. That's how manipulators win, like not with strength, with emotional precision, but if you stay unreadable, if you stay calm when others can't, you become unshakable, you become unpredictable, you become powerful. Honestly, sometimes I wanted to react. I wasn't just defending my name, like I was defending my inner child, the part of me that still wanted to feel seen, heard, respected. But here's the thing. People who truly respect you don't need you to prove yourself. And the ones who need you to explode, they're not looking for truth. They're looking for control. If someone insults you and you don't respond, they're stuck with their own echo. And that echo gets louder in their head than anything you could have said out loud. Next time someone baits you, remember, don't take the hook. Don't play the part. Don't press the red button. Just walk past it. That silence, that's how you win. Never outshine the master. Robert Greene, Law 1. Imagine you're a pawn on a chessboard. You're small. You move slow. You're not flashy, but you're watching. The rooks are loud. The queen is fast. The knights leap over you. They laugh at you, ignore you, until you get to the other side. And in one quiet move, you become a queen, the most powerful piece on the board. No trash talk, no drama, just positioning. That's what silence is. It's quiet positioning while everyone else plays loud games. I had this manager a few years ago, like the kind who thrives on control. Passive-aggressive tone, jokes with teeth in them, would call people out in meetings just to show he could. One Monday morning, he went for me, pointed at a project I'd submitted late in front of everyone, said, I guess some of us work better under pressure, or not at all. My ears burned. I felt 12 people watching me, waiting for my reaction. I could have defended myself. I could have explained how I worked late, that it wasn't my fault. But I didn't. I just sat there, made eye contact, and said nothing. He smirked at first, but the moment dragged, and suddenly the energy shifted. People weren't laughing anymore. Like, they were uncomfortable. But not with me. With him, because my silence became a mirror. It made his words echo in the air and reflect right back on him. That was the day I learned, when you don't fight back, you don't look weak. You make the other person show their full hand. Seneca once said, a sword never kills anybody. It is a tool in the killer's hand. Anger is the same, right? The Stoics believe that the truly powerful man is the one who doesn't react to insult because he sees it for what it is. A test, a performance, a trap. When you don't flinch, don't respond, don't defend, You show you're not trapped by your emotions. You've already mastered them. That's where real respect begins. Greene's Law 1 isn't just about not outshining your boss. It's about understanding power hierarchies. When someone feels threatened, they try to push you down. If you argue, you confirm you're a threat. But if you remain still, they can't read you. They don't know how to place you. You become unpredictable, and unpredictable people are respected or feared. Both are useful. I used to think that people wouldn't respect me unless I clapped back. I thought silence was giving in, but really, it's a flex. It says, you're not even important enough to trigger me. It creates mystery, and mystery creates power. You want to win respect? Don't fight to be heard. Let people miss your voice when it's not there. Let them wonder what you're thinking and not hear every thought in real time. The loudest people are often trying the hardest to be noticed. The quiet ones, they've already noticed everything. Like, despise the need to explain yourself. Let your actions speak for you. Inspired by Robert Greene, Law 9. Win through your actions, never through argument. There are always two voices inside you. One is loud, emotional, impatient. It's the one that yells, say something, defend yourself, don't let them win. The other voice is quiet. It says, let it go. Think before you move. Hold your position. The first one, that's your ego. The second, that's your discipline. Every conflict is a battlefield between those two voices. And the people who lose the war, they always side with the loud one. Every disagreement felt personal. Every moment of silence felt like defeat. I'd replay conversations in my head like courtroom trials. I should have said this. Why didn't I clap back with that? I thought I was building confidence, but really, I was just feeding my ego. And your ego is like fire. The more you feed it, the more it burns you. Marcus Aurelius wrote, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. To the Stoics, your ego was the part of you that reacts out of fear. Fear of embarrassment, fear of disrespect, fear of being small. But here's the paradox. The more you try to defend your image, the weaker it actually becomes. A strong man doesn't rush to explain. He lets time and action reveal the truth. There was a family dinner a while ago. You know the kind. Food's good, but someone's got to bring up politics. My uncle threw a jab at me. Something like, well, you're always full of opinions from the internet anyway. Old me. I'd have launched into a speech this time. I just smiled, didn't defend, didn't explain, didn't feed the fire. He waited for me to bite. I didn't. And eventually, he started stumbling through an explanation of what he actually meant. Why? Because when you don't give someone your ego to fight with, they're left alone with theirs. Robert Greene says, by refusing to explain yourself, you deny others the chance to dissect you. Let your silence be their confusion. Every time you react emotionally, you become predictable. But when you stay still, you become unreadable. People can't strategize around you, because you're not reacting, you're responding, and sometimes not responding at all is the strategy. Let's be real. Staying silent when someone disrespects you feels like failure at first. You feel weak. You feel like you're letting them win. But here's what Stoicism and Greene both taught me. Winning doesn't always look like dominance. Sometimes it looks like restraint, because you're not letting them win. You're refusing to play a game that can't be won. Your ego wants noise. Your power lives in silence. The next time you feel the heat rise in your chest, that urge to explain, defend, prove, fight, pause, and ask yourself, am I speaking from clarity or am I speaking from ego? If it's ego, say nothing. Let the loud ones burn out. You stay still. You stay sharp. You stay relatable. Master the art of timing. Never seem in a hurry. Hurrying betrays a lack of control. Robert Greene, Loss 35. Master the art of timing. Imagine two archers. One fires arrow after arrow, rapid fire, hoping something hits. The other? He stands still, watches the wind, feels the tension in the string, waits for the exact right breath, then releases. That second archer, he doesn't shoot often, but when he does, he never misses. That's what silence is. It's not doing nothing. It's waiting until doing something actually works. A while back, someone I worked with tried to make me look bad in front of our boss. Not a direct attack, just subtle comments, undermining, micro-sabotage. I wanted to say something. My pride begged for a confrontation, but I held back, watched, documented everything, stayed calm, and after 2 months, he slipped. Made a mistake I didn't have to expose because the boss saw it himself. I didn't say, "I told you so," didn't gloat. But when that guy got called out, the boss glanced at me, and I just nodded. Timing isn't about revenge. It's about letting people write their own downfall scum while you stay still enough to see it happen. Seneca wrote, "No man was ever wise by chance." Wisdom in Stoicism doesn't come from knowledge, it comes from restraint, from watching your first impulse and choosing your second one instead. When someone insults you, your first impulse wants to defend. When you're disrespected, your first impulse wants to fight, but the Stoic waits, because sometimes time reveals more truth than any argument ever could. Robert Greene's greatest characters are never in a rush. They know something the others don't. Desperation leaks, calm manipulates. Greene writes that timing is a form of invisibility. When you're not rushing, you're unpredictable. When you wait, you control not just your moves, but theirs too. Because silence creates pressure. It makes people uncomfortable. They rush to fill the void, and that's when they make mistakes. There was a job I really wanted once. I made it to the final round. Then silence, a week passed, then another. Every part of me wanted to email them, ask for feedback, do something, but I waited, and in that time, they reached back out. Not just with the offer, but with a bigger role. They were evaluating internal changes. If I had rushed, I might have come across as needy, or worse, insecure. That taught me a lesson I still carry. The silence you endure often protects the outcome you want. You don't need to fight harder. You need to wait smarter. Let others move too fast. Let them chase noise, fight for approval, trip over their own urgency. You stand still. You breathe, you wait, because power doesn't panic. And silence isn't weakness, it's timing sharpening its blade. Ever stand next to a calm lake? It's peaceful, simple. You see the bottom, no mystery. Now, picture standing at the edge of the ocean. It's deep, wide, quiet, but powerful. You have no idea what's under the surface, and that unknown, that's what keeps you hooked. That's the kind of energy silence creates. Still. Deep, impossible to ignore. You don't have to say much when your presence already says something. Once I stopped over-explaining, I noticed something weird. People started listening more, like a lot more. In meetings, when I paused before speaking, and people paid attention. In conversations, when I didn't rush to fill silence, people opened up more. Even socially, when I said less, I felt more in control. At first, I thought it was a fluke. Then I realized people are drawn to what they don't fully understand. And silence creates exactly that. Mystery, space, and gravity. The Stoics didn't chase approval. They let others come to them. Epictetus taught, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. Don't tell people you're calm. Don't say you're wise. Don't announce your strength. Just show it. Through how little you need to prove. Robert Greene often writes about flipping the power dynamic. If you speak first, you reveal your position. If you react first, you show your pressure point. But when you stay silent, people project, they assume, they talk themselves in circles trying to figure you out. And all you've done, is watch. Yeah, that's how you gain power without even moving. I remember this moment with a girl I liked. We were talking, she said something I didn't agree with, lightly confrontational. Old me would have over-explained, argued, joked nervously to smooth things out, but this time I just paused, let the silence breathe, let the moment stretch. And you know what happened? She leaned in, yeah, softened her tone, filled the silence with vulnerability. Why? Because silence isn't just cold. It's a mirror, and some people don't know what they sound like until you don't answer back. You don't have to say more to be more. You don't have to fight to be heard. You don't have to rush to be understood. You just have to hold the frame. Keep your presence calm, and let the world lean in to figure you out. That's real influence. That's magnetic silence. What you do not react to cannot control you, and what cannot control you cannot defeat you. You've been taught your whole life that silence is weakness, that if you don't defend yourself, you'll be walked over, that if you're not loud, you'll be ignored. But that's what the noisy world wants you to believe. So you keep performing, keep reacting, keep spilling your power. The truth, real strength doesn't flinch. It doesn't rush. It doesn't argue. It waits, watches, positions, and when it moves, it changes everything. Silence is not the absence of power. It's the restraint of someone who knows exactly when to strike. So the next time someone insults you, the next time they provoke you, the next time your ego begs to speak, pause, breathe, don't react. Because now you know what they don't. Stillness is control. Mystery is leverage. And silence, that's strategy. Be the person who doesn't need to prove. Be the presence that people can't figure out. Be the voice that speaks less and gets heard more. You're not here to entertain. You're here to command the room without saying a word. Stay quiet. Stay composed. Stay relatable.